gonna play the new meme that's sweeping the interwebs.
We're gonna play the new meme. That's how
you say it, right? We're gonna play the new meme. Ali, cue up in the club. We're gonna play in the club or not in the club.
Sweeping the nation. I think I saw this on Twitter for like a couple hours.
I have been
once every 3 years.
I have been dying to play this game since I saw it like 6 days ago. You're right. It's already an old meme. It lasted like 4 hours.
Keith, one of the best dynamics that exists on this show, if you want to call this a show, is Brendan's absolute disgust at Adam's inability to keep with the times. It's
like
so great.
He's like one of the most inspiring creative people I've ever worked with. He does so much great stuff, and it's like he's the VP of DNVR. He doesn't know what an airdrop is.
Listen, I'm Team Adam all the way here. I don't keep up with anything. I saw like this collection of characters on Twitter, and I didn't know what it was, and it was Grimes' baby name, and like I saw the letters together, and I realized I don't want to know what that is. I went. I felt like 24 hours not knowing what that was. Like. I'm a person who like uses the mute feature on Twitter. When I see like a meme, I'm like, I'm not muting this word.
Oh wow!
I don't. I'm very.
That's why you haven't been seeing my tweets. It all makes sense, Keith.
You're definitely going to want to unmute in the club or not in the club.
Like, I saw that photo and I thought it was just somebody I didn't really know. I'm like, I've seen this a couple times. I don't know what that is.
Oh my god! All right, so we're gonna go over some young cores here. I've selected these. Maybe at the end you can tell me I left somebody out that I should not have, and you're just going to tell me if they're in the club or not in the club. And this just means like, oh, you're buying them. This is a young core that we need to be concerned with.
Yeah.
And then here's the other thing. I cut it off at 25 years old, but you can still factor in the guys that are 25. For example, a Jokic.
I don't want any 25-year-olds in my club. Get out the club. Out the club.
Whoa.
Who are the? Is Jokic 25? How old's Jokic?
Jokic is 25. But here's what I was going to say.
Out in the club.
Jokic has never stepped foot inside a club, so don't worry about that.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
He's seen him in a tree. That's trees.
He's
sitting in a tree.
Trees.
He's sitting in a tree.
It's the courtyard of a club.
The opposite of a club. They're playing folk music.
So you can factor those guys in. It's just obviously they're older. So Jokic probably is what he's going to be, but whatever. He's going to be a Nugget for a while, so maybe he counts. All right, let's go number one, the Celtics. I've got their core: Tatum, Brown, Robert Williams, Grant Williams, a handful of other garbage, but most of that's mostly the core.
We don't like garbage in the club.
Is this a squad? Is this a squad?
Well, I'm confused about the rules.
There's no rules, Keith.
Okay.
The rule is I really wanted to use this meme, and it kind of makes sense for this.
Yeah.
Tatum and Brown are both awesome, but that's just like two guys.
That's not really a club.
That's not a core. They're out the club.
Out the club. Wow.
Boston, it's going to be a tight club, man.
We need to
here's
add
my
Bill
thing.
Simmons real quick so he gets this.
Yeah, I'm looking at like real young.
Okay.
I don't want to be weird.
That was like a real weird comment. Yeah. We're talking about in the club and you're looking for real young.
I'm just talking about
that clip.
I'm just, just use that clip.
No context. The club I want.
I gotta tweet that quote out.
I mean, I want to rig this game for my Grizzlies, and we're winning all the games that are the youngest. If it's the youngest,
you can't rent out the entire club for just the Grizzlies.
I will say. I mean, obviously the Celtics should be great for a long time because Tatum and Brown are both young. The rest of their core pieces I don't care about yet.
But they could get in the club with just Tatum and Brown, though, right?
Sure. I'm not going to argue that. Those guys are awesome. They're also like, when you're about to get paid, I don't know. It loses some of the luster.
Yeah, I love it. That's actually kind of a fair point. But I do think that they're going to be around. They'd probably be in the club for me, but that's fine. All right, the 76ers, obviously they have Simmons, they have Thibault, they have Zaire Smith. Embiid's not, he's 26 or something, so he's not in the club. Or he's old. What do you think about them?
Well, if the Celtics aren't in the club, the Sixers are really not in the club. Tatum and Brown is a much better young core than just Ben Simmons, coward, and Thibault, not a coward, just can't shoot. So
But can we make sure? Is anybody in this club before we?
There's one team I know he's going to have in the club. So.
It's a very exclusive club.
The 76ers team, like, what is their title window for title contention? Or do you think it's just like a very near version of the 76ers is so different from what it is now that it's not worth talking about as an extension?
I think their title window is 2019.
Okay, it's past. I love it. I love the spice. Let's bring.
I love Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons is amazing. I would give everything besides Ja and Jaren on the Grizzlies for Ben Simmons.
Okay.
But
here it goes.
I don't think what they have now.
I agree.
They would need one of those weird windows we were talking about where it just opened up perfectly. Because I think their ceiling is like 5th best team in the NBA. They're not even at that ceiling.
And they got that window last year and they missed. I mean, granted, they were a couple bounces of the basketball away.
4 bounces.
That's one thing I always have.
4 bounces.
Yeah, you always have to back up and remind yourself. But that was the year where they would have gone and there would have been no KD and Philly gets their title.
Producer Allie is crying behind the scenes right now.
Are they ever going to get max contract contributions from Al Horford and Tobias Harris? I don't think so. Even though maybe Horford's not technically a max. Like, they're paying so much money to these guys. I don't have them in my club, and I also think their title window, unless something drastic happens, is not open. I mean, Simmons is so young; they could pivot completely.
So, can I give you a pivot that I have been pushing on this year show?
I love pivots.
A Jamal Murray, Ben Simmons swap, to me, I am so in on it. Now, let's be honest, you probably have to throw something else in if you're Denver right now. Maybe Jamal Murray, maybe you ride Jamal Murray out one more year and he just goes to that next level. But Simmons and Jokic, I'm ready for it. This is what I want. I
don't know why the Sixers would do that.
Well, they need some shooting. They've got no shooting around them.
They want a max player.
They need a max player.
They need to give someone else a little too much money.
Isn't Jamal Murray like 37% from 3?
I try to tell Nuggets fans this all the time.
Just wait till next year.
I try to tell Nuggets fans all the time that they think I'm the Jamal hater, but everybody we have on the show that's not in Denver says the exact same thing. So
I guess if Jamal Murray's 3-point percentage is higher than the millions he makes next year, that's a win, right?
Wow, the spice coming out of Keith today. Wow.
All right, short.
It's a little depressing here.
Dude, this was the Matt Moore episode. I thought.
Now I'm leaving. See ya.
All right, number 3 here, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is sad. Garland, Sexton, Kevin Porter Jr. Just throw it up.
I will say I didn't watch the Cavaliers.
Allie didn't even wait.
The Cavs can't even get in the line for the club. Yeah. They won't even let him in the line.
The bouncer reached his hand. Are you in the back? Absolutely.
Yeah. They can't even pay full cover. They can't even get in line.
I feel all of the clubs in Cleveland have been shut down.
Yo, these guys diced up the Nuggets not too long ago.
Oh God, that was so sad. Shut up, Brendan.
I was gonna say I haven't honestly watched the Cavaliers that much this year, but they also didn't make my short list when I did my 5 minutes of preparation. I mean, no, I'm not excited about any of their young players. So
you don't want to watch Colin Sexton slap the floor a couple times?
I do. I love that.
Kind of fun.
Colin Sexton's hair bothers me. That little braid, I can't handle it. Out the club. There's a dress code. There's a dress code here at this club.
Oh God! All right, the Chicago Bulls. Arturis is now part of the core, so we got to add him in there. But they got Markkanen. They got Wendell Carter, my guy. And Kobe White, not my guy. Zach LaVine is over the age limit, but
so unfortunately, I set a very strict admittance policy by excluding the Celtics first. Yeah. And no, I'd rather have the Celtics 2 guys than any of that on the Bulls. So no, they're out the club.
All right, they're out the club. Nobody's in this club right now.
Just go in this club.
Just Keith by himself.
Just waiting for the super young kids to come into the club.
Maybe I'm losing business right now, and with social distancing, Celtics come back in the club.
Yeah.
We've got to move it back. Celtics are back in the club.
Maybe we need like a coupon policy to get more people in this club.
So you bought a Groupon? We'll honor that. Yeah, we'll honor that.
You know what's funny is I didn't even rank these by best to like worst to best. Like I'm building up. I just went East and West, and I think all the good ones are in the West. Sadly, every year it's the West that has all the teams.
Yeah.
Last one in the East, the Atlanta Hawks. We got Trae Young. We got Collins, Herter.
Oh, they're in the club.
They're in the club.
No, they're in the club.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised by this one. Why are they in the club?
They're the anti-grit and grind Grizzlies.
Well, they are. I think the Hawks are on the short list when you're coming up of young core you're excited about. When they played those guys, I mean, Trae Young, obviously, I'm not a huge Trae Young believer. Like, I saw maybe 8 games of theirs last year in full, and he was unbelievably good in 2 of them. And he was like mediocre in 4 and atrocious in the other couple. So it's not a representative sample size necessarily. I have seen the guys on my team destroy them. I think they beat them by 40 in Atlanta. And it was like, all right, I don't know about Trae Young. But, I mean, I'm excited about Cam Reddish. I do have a little thing for guys who can't shoot. I'll have to so Cam Reddish seems
How are the Hawks in the club? You don't even believe in Trae Young.
And yet you don't love Jamal.
I have a lot of guys, though.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys. I think Trae Young is at least a guy I haven't given up on. I think he possesses the most valuable skill in the NBA, which is hitting threes off the dribble, and he can control an offense. And he's young enough where I'm like, all right, maybe he will play someone on defense and can lead a team. And I do think offense is more important than defense. So you have John Collins. We're including John Collins. I think he's a very good player. You have Cam Reddish and then DeAndre Hunter. Those 5, Kevin Herter.
Herter, I like.
There's a dearth of shooting guards in the NBA who can do anything, and Kevin Herter is one of those guys, and he's young. And I know those 5 guys, I think the young Herter, Reddish, Hunter, Collins, that 5-man unit actually has an incredible net rating for this season. So I think their young core,
I love it. He came in prepared.
Their young core is one of the ones where I'm like, I think they have an argument because I look at the whole league thinking, who has an argument against my young Grizzlies core? Yeah. And I know Hawks fans will think they might have the best core in the NBA, and I can't really argue with them other than the fact that I'm not a huge believer in Trae Young yet.
He murdered them. He
the best player on there.
When you rattled off those 5 Hawks, Keith, I just thought 4 seed in the West, 4 seed in the East for the next 10 years.
They could be.
Yeah. 4 or 5 seed in the East.
They could all win co-player of the month, like January. And I will say, point of order. That 60-win Hawks team would have finished 4th in the Southwest Division that year. Look it up.
And maybe that's the name of the club. The name of the club is the 4th seed in the East. The new hottest club downtown.
Very hot club. All right, so the Hawks. All right, we're going to get into some good ones now. This one I can't wait to hear your take on. The Pelicans. Zion, Ingram, Lonzo, Hayes. The list is dropping off at the end there, but very heavy at the top.
Kenrich.
Zion.
Kenrich is like 27 or something. I looked it up today, and I was really shocked at how old he is.
Yeah.
I think he's 25, but they're in the club. The Pelicans are in the club on the basis of Zion Williamson and Ingram and Lonzo Ball. I mean, those 3 there you're very excited about. Jackson Hayes seemed promising in the amount he played, but that's like that core, those few guys, and they're a little bit younger, like I like them, and they're not a 24 or a 25 like some of the others we're talking about.
We're gonna get banned.
Even though Ingram's about to get paid that second contract, it loses some of the luster for me for the young core. But Lonzo Ball, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, assuming he stays, yes, that's a core. They're in the club.
I think as long as they have Zion, they're in the club.
Yeah, it's a one-man club.
It's just a one-man. It's true. Zion is his own club.
Although it's only been 17 games. I'm okay with. I'm accepting hot takes that Zion Williamson is the Trae Young of power forwards. That's fine with me.
Wow. What, like shoots threes and doesn't play defense?
A lot of stats.
I'll say this. I feel better about the Jokic slander before.
I do too. I feel a lot better. I've only heard that take from one person, so I'm kind of excited to have heard it from a second now.
everyone talking about the Pelicans like they were going to catch the Grizzlies. The Pelicans were, I think,
This is versatile. This is what it is. Nurkic isn't actually good, guys. I mean, come on.
They lost to the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
I think they're basically 500 when Zion Williamson plays.
Wow.
I can go back to that like net rating. Their starting lineup that the Drew and Lonzo, Ingram favors Zion Williamson, I think is the highest net rating 5-man unit in the entire NBA. So they seemed awesome, but we haven't seen a lot yet. I'm just saying we haven't seen a lot yet.
I love it. Yeah, you know what? It is fair. To me, they're in the club. They've got bottle service. They're very comfortably in the club. There was no line. They went straight in.
They built the club around Zion.
Exactly. The Denver Nuggets. Ooh. So we've got Jamal Murray. We've got Michael Porter Jr., Bol. And you're going to laugh at these people I included on this list, but Noah Vonleh, PJ Dozier, also under 25.
Noah Vonleh's been 23
Kate's
for
like, who?
14 years.
No. Yeah, Noah Vonleh, I thought for like
Noah Vonleh being 25 is very exciting and surprising.
Forget about Jordan McRae.
25.
Torrey Craig's like 29.
No, I said Jordan McRae. Don't forget about Jordan
McRae.
Oh, Jordan McRae. You know, one of the great things we lost with the pandemic is a Jordan McRae like 35-point April game. Those are like every season.
No.
Jordan McRae goes bonkers.
The Nuggets actually managed to lose that before the pandemic.
Yeah, they waived him. They cut him, right? I don't like the Nuggets are going to be good for the next few seasons, but I don't consider them in the young core club because I feel like the guys are too old. I don't think there's a lot more. There's not much better that Jamal Murray's going to get. I know that might be upsetting. I feel like we kind of know what he is. I don't believe in a huge improvement. Some guys have done it. Kyle Lowry's done it. Chauncey Billups has done it. Like there's been a lot of point guards who later in the career got really, really good. I'm guessing no. I could easily be wrong. And then just Jokic, he's out of the club for me. A little bit too old. And it's all the Michael Porter Jr. question. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I saw every one of his amazing games. I know that. I saw like that Pacers game where I was like, this is the best player I've ever seen.
Yeah, I felt that way.
That's the thing is his good games, he looks like the MVP.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So I would rather have I mean, if we're including Jokic, I guess, but
put it on wax. What is it? Oh, in or out? Are we in the club or not?
I'm gonna say if we have a cancellation from the Celtics, the Nuggets can get in, but otherwise
they're on the waiting list.
We got
Allie's like, what the hell graphic do I put up for this one?
Wait list.
It's funny, man. Like 2 years ago, I would have been, or even a year ago, beside myself. But 2 year windows for this whatever we're doing here. Every 2 years, it's different.
It's so true. Well, like 2 years ago, we were so excited about Gary Harris. We're like, oh, great, we have that penciled in. He's awesome. And then the last 2 years of Gary Harris, you'd be like, kind of what happened? And it's no longer this is an exciting young piece of the team. It's more like that's a concerning spot. Like he's Tony Allen now, but he's not as good at defense, and that's not great. So
that's a great point by Darwin. Weren't the Nuggets like one of the youngest playoff teams ever this last year? They were, right?
Yeah.
But they're all like 25 and good.
Right.
The thing, and all the other thing about it is they're getting a little bit of the thunder from like 2011, where it's like they're really young still. Yeah, but they've been in the conversation for enough years that it's like they're already in the
We've talked about Jamal, Gary, and Yoke for 3 years now.
They're different than the Hawks, who are like still figuring out who they are. The Nuggets kind of know who they are. Now it's just, can they become good enough at who they are?
Well, also it's a really good point. Like the Hawks are terrible. And so we're thinking like, oh, there's hope. We think this could
be
the
future.
For the future. And I think it's a good lesson to remember. It's a fun exercise to talk about cores and talk about like, oh, what we could be in the future. As a Grizzlies fan, when we're tanking, we're taking victory laps and things that aren't really real. We're taking victory laps in hope. And it's like that's where as a fan, I'm always like, no, you really should enjoy the time you're winning. If you're the Nuggets and you're the 3 seed, that's awesome. Like that's the good stuff.
Oh yeah.
When you're going to be bad, yes, it's preferable if you can spin a narrative of hope, which is what like the Hawks have and what the Grizzlies have. But it is actually technically better, and don't let any podcast tell you it's bad to win games and to like win 47 games and go to the playoffs. That's better.
Good take.
Your hope always, when it becomes real, when you get that young core the new car syndrome off the lot. You're like, man, this car isn't that good.
And like the Nuggets were, when they were in that phase, were just like already winning games. Like 2 years ago, they were one of the 5 youngest teams in the NBA. All 4 of them were bottom feeders, and the Nuggets had a lot of wins. So they almost like skipped that phase of, by the time the national audience realized these three and company were good, they were already like in that 2 seed, 3 seed kind of tier. So
yeah. Well, we got to keep it moving here. Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Terrence Ferguson, Amadou Diallo, that I can't even say his first name, Dort, yeah, something Dort, who actually murdered the Nuggets. Do you guys remember that? It was terrible.
Yeah.
They're out of the club.
Get out of the club. I can't believe you even bothered reading all those games. I watched every single Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shot on stats.nba.com recently because there's no NBA, and I'm like, this guy had a great year. I don't want to see more of him. But no, I mean, Shai is exciting. He's young. But no.
Yeah,
I think there are literally no clubs in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that's a great point. Here's an interesting one. The Timberwolves. Towns is actually only 24. I was surprised by that. Russell, Beasley, Okogie, Culver, Wancho, Vando. They're Wancho, man. They're another team that has, top level guys, and I'm not a Russell guy, but whatever. But then they just have so many other guys. Like, I don't know if you're high on Okogie, but they've got like 8 of those guys.
So Okogie's 21 years old, which blew my mind a little bit that he's that young. So the Timberwolves are one where if you include up to 25, you think maybe they're in the club, but I think this team's going to be bad. And I think this team is like however, is opposed to being a team that I did not like watching recently. This core right now, like if they keep Malik Beasley, if they run it back next year with D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Karl-Anthony Towns, like that's going to be my favorite 32-win tein in the NBA.
I'm so happy you said this, Keith. I could not agree more.
They're not going to be good. They're not going to be good.
They're going to be terrible. Terrible.
And thus, as Nuggets fans, you can still root for Malik and Wancho. It's harmless, I promise.
It's actually more fun to root for them when the team's bad. It's like, man, they got to get out of Minnesota, man. They're ruining them. I'm low on them as well. And it's funny because if you went down the list with them in Atlanta and we're like, okay, Towns or Trey, I don't know. You might. I would take Towns. Russell or Collins or whatever. You start going down. It's like you're taking all Timberwolves, and then you're like, no, they're not in the club. And part of that is because it's the Timberwolves, the organization, and then some of it is they don't. Russell, Towns, those guys to me, even Beasley to a certain extent, I feel like they need there's something they're missing that's not basketball. They need another piece there that's not the basketball pieces, in my opinion. I know it's kind of a hot take.
Russell and Towns give me a lot of KD and Kyrie energy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, I could see it. All right, moving on because we got to get through this one. The Kings, Fox, Bagley. That's kind of it. I mean, Giles, they're out of the club.
De'Aaron Fox is incredible. It was a lost season for Marvin Bagley, but no, get them out the club.
Out the club. All right, no, not for them. The Suns, Booker, Ayton, Bridges, Oubre, Cam Johnson, who I kind of like.
So with the age cutoff, with Booker being included, this team's on the club. This team is, I like DeAndre Ayton. It's like popular to kind of slam on him that he hasn't figured it out and he's bad at defense or whatever.
He's become underrated, I think. Yeah.
He's got so many skills and he's so young. You're like, it's amazing like how good he is. Maybe don't shoot the 17-footer every time, but he's good at some stuff that I'm excited about him. I like Mikal Bridges. If you want to play the net rating game, once again, you have to throw in a Rubio. But like when Mikal Bridges and if Kelly Oubre is included in this, I think he's 24 maybe.
Yeah, he's up there. He's at the cutoff.
So yeah, if you include Kelly Oubre, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, and Ayton, those 4 guys together actually had an incredible net rating, and I'm excited about all those guys. They're also a team where a player I hate on more than Trae Young is Devin Booker. I like on Fastbreak Breakfast. It's like a bread and butter for me. It's just throwing Devin Booker. I think he's kind of like insanely overrated, but maybe he'll put it together. He puts it. Like, he's so efficient and he's so good at offense, but he's so bad at everything else that I don't know. But
that's your second. This team is in the club, but their best player, I don't believe in them. That's your second one.
It's true. So literally, right now, this club is the club of hope.
This club.
All right.
I'm well prepared to kick a lot of these guys out of the thing, but I can't cross off the Suns yet, even though I'm not a big Devin Booker fan.
Fair enough.
The Suns are in the same club to me as Minnesota. They're in that same one where it's like they're really good, but I just
the Suns can get in the club at like 8:30.
I think they have to be out of the club by 11. Like, all right, we're checking IDs at 11, guys. It's no longer a restaurant; it's a full-on bar. I think for them, like, if I told you 2 years from now, are the Suns a contender? Are they like in the conversation for one of the tier 1 or tier 2 teams? I just maybe. I mean, they have the talent too. I just don't think they will.
See, I agree with you there. If this game was who's going to be a contender in 2 years,
but it's more about their timeline is 2 years.
Yes,
the Hawks' timeline is probably 4. So it's,
yeah. But like I don't know. I guess maybe it's incorrect on my part. But in my whatever this mental exercise, I think of these young players as being like, if I was a fan of that team, I would still be optimistic, even though we're awful and get our teeth. Although I mean, honestly, the Suns were secretly coming on a little bit. They weren't that far behind the Kings, the Spurs, the Pelicans with awesome Zion Williamson.
17 games off.
I love this slander. I know exactly where it's coming from. It's Memphis and New Orleans are the true like same conference, same division. Like, oh yeah.
Like when someone tells us Dame is better than Jokic, like all right, sure.
Yeah. I think it would be more like a Gobert Jokic, where it's like, but you'd rather have defense from your center guys. If we're being like, all right, you know what, F you. I think there's some real
tell your center to defend our center. So.
Yeah, exactly. Get him too.
Yeah, there are fights going on in this club, by the way.
There's a lot of fights. There's a lot of fights outside the club too. All right, the Mavs, the Mavericks. This is a short list. Luka, Porzingis, and then I have Brunson.
Maxi Kleber. How old is Maxi Kleber?
He's old.
28.
Yeah, he's fine. If the list drops off, though, it's a 2-man core, really.
I mean, Doncic is more of a one-man party. I didn't even consider Porzingis being included. I've seen Porzingis walking out of clubs getting punched in the head. I don't want any of that riffraff. No.
Out the club.
Oh, my God.
I don't want any of course.
Doncic might own this club. Come
One
on.
man does not make a court.
The world embraced KP.
I need the satisfaction of this out the club graphic. There it is. Boom. Get out of here, Mav. Get out of here, Mavs.
There was a year where KP thought he was going to be one of the most popular people on earth. Like that was his trajectory, and God, did the next 4 years go different.
Oh wow, yeah. Right. Oh yeah. All right. I think that's it. That's all the teams that I. Oh wait. Okay. I guess there is one. Okay. The Memphis Grizzlies. They've got Ja. They've got Jackson. Yeah. So tell me.
Now that's an air horn.
Let me put the order of young core. You could tell me how off I am on this because I had Ja, Jaren Jackson. Who's the next guy? Brooks. Brooks is. I'm a Brooks guy.
No.
He's killed the Nuggets.
No. That's a great question. I think third on the list, if you're ranking your assets or your hope, is either Brandon Clark or D'Anthony Melton. I guess.
Okay. Clark.
Brandon Clark.
Third.
Yeah. So like I have Brandon Clark, D'Anthony Melton at like a 3 and 4. I think Dylan Brooks, he's like a 6-man or 7. He's a backup. Yeah. So you still have hope. Maybe Melton could be a starter, even though he's undersized. And then I don't know. Like, are you including?
I got Winslow's only like 20. I was surprised how young he is.
Winslow just turned 24.
That's crazy to me. When I was looking at it, I was like, he's like 28.
Tyus Jones is 23. Hey, here's a stat I found out today that will blow your minds. John Conchar.
Love it. I was so ready for this.
Well, John Conchar is the, I think, 7th oldest Grizzly.
And he's a rookie.
Because he was a 4-year guy.
This is a basketball player?
He's 24.
First of all, you would love Conchar. I'm telling you. I love Conchar. So I had somebody in the Nuggets front office before the draft this last year. I was like, what's a name that's like shows up high on the draft board that's like nobody's talking about or whatever? And it was Conchar. They're like, I mean, look, he might never be a player, but you know, if you look at some of the numbers, he projects to be like a top 4 player or something like this.
The Stepien guys who do their draft board, they had Conchar really like the 20th best playor. Oh, also Jonte Porter. Just Jonte Porter.
Oh, man, I was really prepared for the Nuggets to get Jonte.
We got a free look at Jonte Porter. I mean, I guess based on this exercise, I think Justice Winslow is actually, now that I think of it, he's like 3rd or 4th on this. I mean, I was blown away that Justice Winslow is younger than John Conchar. Tyus Jones is younger than John Conchar.
That's crazy.
If you're trying to talk about the Grizzlies winning a title and we're this exercise of hope and stuff,
yeah.
Which name first, Jaren Jackson or Ja? Like, which name pops to you as a Grizzlies guy here?
Well, as a Grizzlies what?
As a Grizzlies guy and like winning a title, who is
your
Grizzlies
chap? And winning a title, I think it has to be John Morant because you Well, I guess if they're going to win a title, you've envisioned that John Morant has become sort of Isaiah Thomas type player. He's become this team leader. He projects to be that based on one season. Well, what he's done is I think is incredible. To shoot nearly 50% from the field. He is one of the best fourth quarter field goal percentages. He is one of the top scorers in the NBA in the fourth quarters this year. Like, he has that thing where he sets up the team as the game goes along, then they win. This is the team that I thought was going to be terrible, and everyone else thought was going to be terrible. And they were legitimately, I think, when Jaren and Ja play, they're 27 and 21, and that's 22 and 10 since December 1st.
Ooh, I like that stat.
I was joking with Adam because you were doing like a top 10 teams in the NBA, and I'm like, what are the Grizzlies? Because, no joke, since they started playing all the guys together with D'Anthony Melton, the last 3 months of the season, the last 45 games of the season, the Grizzlies are, I think, 9th in net rating. They're 9th in defense.
They have a total December 15th moment with them, because when he brought that up, I looked it up. I'm like, all right, let me look at this. And it was like, oh, wow, top 8 offense, top 4 defense. Like, oh, shit.
So I think to answer Brandon's question of like the title dream, if you want to dream about the Grizzlies, you're like, all right, John Morant becomes an all-star, Jaren Jackson Jr. becomes an all-star, and then they acquire a 2-guard or a forward who is also an all-star. And that guy might be like the leading scorer on the team. That guy might be like, if you could trade everything you had for Bradley Beal, or like someone, I don't know if the player even exists, someone in the Drew Holiday type. The dream for Grizzlies right now is these guys, Ja and Jaren, and then D'Anthony and Brandon kind of fulfill maybe their peak potential. And for Ja and Jaren, that's becoming all-stars. And then you use maybe the future asset acquired in the Conley trade. You use that Warriors pick you got taken on Andre Iguodala, and maybe you trade 2 or 3 picks out to bring in maybe the second best player or the third best player. And then you have like Jaren Jackson Jr. as a Chris Bosh as a third banana. So that's like the dream. I mean, it's a dream.
But you got the pieces. It's like Denver in that they've got like 2 building blocks, and then they've got a bunch of guys that can all become something or collectively turn into some other player. So I like them. They're definitely in the club.